Hey everybody, so as you know, I am working on the scripts for the next few episodes, which means I gotta give you a little bit of a filler week. Now this video is gonna be kind of on a little bit of a touchy subject, but I kind of have to make it because as some of you know, if you've been following me on social media, I announced that we are gonna have a geography in the self-declared yet not recognized by the UN state of Somaliland. What is it? Is it Somalia? Is it its own thing? Is it safe to go there? I heard some scary things about Somalia. Are there pirates? Alright, calm yourself down for a bit. Before we get into this though, I'm going to make a little bit of a disclaimer. Clearly, I am not Somali or Somalilander. I mean, come on, do I look like one? I do not claim to be your ultimate authority that can speak on this topic. All I can do is report historically documented incidences and give objective facts and data as we know it. I am not making any claim as to whether I agree or disagree with either side of the Somaliland dispute. I'm just going to lay it out as best as I can for you, and then you can come to your conclusions at the end. Simple. Alright, and with that being said, what is this whole Somaliland thing? The self-declared state of Somaliland is essentially found in the north part of the Horn of Africa. To Somalia, it is made up of these 5 northern regions. However, to a Somalilander, it is divided into 6 regions. In a nutshell, this used to be a British colony, and the rest of Somalia used to be colonized by Italy. In short, the British said that they would leave if they united with the rest of the Italian colonized part of Somalia on July 1st, 1960. On June 26th, the British officially left, which meant for 5 days, Somaliland actually kind of was its own independent entity. During that time, they actually got recognition from like 35 different countries around the world. Finally, on July 1st of 1960, they approved the bill that would unify them all together as one Somalia. 7 years later, this guy was appointed prime minister by the first president. The first president was assassinated 2 years later by his own bodyguard, which led to a military coup led by a brutal dictator that would rule the country for 21 years. In the 80s, resistance movements started all over the country, specifically this one in the north, which was like a predecessor to what would eventually become the declared state of Somaliland. That dictator was not happy. He bombed the 2 largest cities in the north, Hargeisa, the headquarters of the opposition, and Burao. Numbers are hard to estimate, but even the most conservative numbers will say somewhere around 50,000 to 100,000 people were killed in these bombings, and about 400,000 people were displaced as refugees, mostly to Ethiopia. Now this all seems kind of confusing. Why all the animosity? Why all the conflict? Well, there's a lot of reasons that go into this, and it really kind of depends on who you ask, but the one thing that both Somalis and Somalilanders will say is that it has a lot to do with the clans of Somalia. There are 5 main parent clans in Somalia, and the one where the British protectorate used to be was predominantly inhabited by the Isaaq clan. The first president was from the Hawiye clan, and the first prime minister that he appointed was from the Isaaq clan. This was kind of controversial, which led to the military coup led by Bare, who was from the Darod clan. Eventually, in 1991, Bare's 21-year rule kind of collapsed, mostly because Ethiopia and Libya came in and they just went buck wild. Also, there was a bunch of mess in the south anyway with all the Islamic insurgent groups, which kind of subsequently led to the civil war. So clearly their hands were tied and they were doomed to end anyway. During all this time, the North was like, ha, yeah, that's what you get. I'm claiming independence. You can handle all your drama without me. I'm out. And since 1991, the self-declared state of Somaliland has pretty much operated independently. They have their own government, president, postal system, currency, passport. In fact, if you decide to visit, they even have their own Somaliland visa. They will not accept the Somali visa. And it's strange because like diplomatically, everything has to kind of be like low key with them. Today, no country fully recognizes Somaliland as a fully sovereign state. The UN considers them an autonomous region of Somalia. The biggest reason being because the UN and the African Union kind of agreed that if Somaliland became independent, it would kind of ignite like other violent separatist groups in the region. So to kind of keep everything calm, let's just not recognize it. Nonetheless, today they are definitely not closed off to the world, and they have a lot of informal ties. Today, 8 countries recognize the Somaliland passport. 3 countries have Somaliland consulates: Ethiopia, Djibouti, and Turkey. 2 countries have liaison offices for Somaliland: Denmark and Kenya. And 12 other countries have representative offices, and more are set to possibly open in the future. Oh, and their application to hold an observer position in the Commonwealth is still pending. Also, the financial company Dahabshili, headquartered in the UAE, they handle somewhere around 2/3 of all of the money transfers coming into Somaliland from outside remittances, which really helps them out as a lot of people don't even work with their currency rate. Since 1991, refugees have been coming back and they've been repatriating. They get immediate citizenship. They have a shipping port at Berbera on the Gulf of Aden. They have shopping malls, modern buildings. Everyone has cell phones. In general, it seems to be kind of pretty chill there. I mean, they did have a few skirmishes on the border with them and Puntland, which is also kind of like another breakaway thing, and that's a whole other story. So as you can tell, they have a lot of international interaction, business, trade, technology is coming in. Things are happening. And and yet they are completely unrecognized. So that kind of begs the question, what does the future of this self-declared state of Somaliland look like? Well, it kind of depends on who you ask. Like, if you ask a Somali person, they'll probably say we do not see them as independent. They will never be independent. It's better if they just drop the whole thing and seek full unification all over again with us. We are their cousins. We speak the same language. We have the same religion. We are one people. If you ask a Somalilander, they might say something like, the bombings by Bare have sealed our fate. We cannot go back. And through a slow process of showing the world that we are a progressing, safe, hardworking people that strive for socioeconomic freedom, we hope that our plight can be heard and that maybe we can be recognized globally on a diplomatic scale. And from there, the discussion begins, and I take my bow and leave it to them. It is important to note, though, that in the past few years, Somalia has been kind of a little bit opening up a little bit to Somaliland. For example, in 2017, Premier Bank in Mogadishu, Somalia, opened up their first branch in Hargeisa. Somalis from Somalia can visit Somaliland, but it's kind of weird because it's like they have to kind of cross the border into what they consider their own country. I mean, ultimately, it's kind of hard to say because there's so much, backstory and information that goes into this. Everybody has an opinion. Just talk to a Somali or Somalilander if you want to know more about it. It's a touchy subject, and I'm gonna go there. Anyway, hope this helps. Stay cool, stay tuned.